This is in reference to housing and the raising of children. I believe both housing and the costs of raising children should be free. So let's look at the responses. The best comment here would have to be this one, because it actually brings up a relevant point. Someone's got to create all of that and spend a portion of their lives doing it. Did that ever occur to you? Houses don't grow, nothing is free. It always costs something, and the first something it costs is time. But here we're talking about the human abstract cost of having a currency. So it costs this many dollars. It costs this much money. You have to pay this human currency for the thing. So that's what we're talking about as cost. All right? Not time, not effort. Obviously, all sensible people understand that we must exert effort, and to do anything that takes time. Now, we can surely all agree that it is a possibility that one individual, for example, can donate or gift another individual, say his friend, with building material and time and skill, etc., to build their friend a house without actually charging them anything. Maybe because they feel like they owe them, etc. Sense of loyalty, whatever it might be. Okay? So there's no actual financial exchange, there's no currency exchange in this hypothetical example, and I'm sure we can all agree that this is a possibility. This does happen in the real world. There are people out there who help out their mates, and they'll use spare materials, recycled materials, whatever, leftover materials, etc., cheaper materials, okay? And they'll build things, and they won't actually charge any money whatsoever. It's probably rarer these days than it was, even just a few decades ago. But it's a thing that can definitely happen. And even if we are currently in an age where it wouldn't happen because people have become too, quote-unquote, independent or self-absorbed, then that doesn't mean it's not a possibility. In some hypothetical universe where people are all happy in peace, getting along, it could definitely happen. Okay, we can agree that hypothetically it's a possibility somebody could just gift resources. Now, in the same way, somebody could be generous enough to go out and cut down trees, refine materials, etc. So the labor, the materials, all these things could actually be harvested from nature without any cost, without any actual exchange of any currency whatsoever. So it's a possibility, it can be done. So that means we can have homes built, alright? Obviously we can have homes built that have no financial cost, no cost of currency, and no price tag. Yet, obviously they still cost time, effort, skill, labor, all these things. But there's no exchange of money. Nobody is paid cash or money in a bank account for these things. So that's a possibility. It definitely can be done. Then the big question would be, how would that be possible? Okay, so it's like, oh yeah, I can agree, a friend would do that with a friend, but how could that be possible society-wide? Well, if people were more friendly, it would be simple. It would just happen. It wouldn't even need any effort involved. It would just happen because people are more friendly. So that's one way. People could be more friendly. Or people could be more loyal. People could have more loyalty. And people could also perhaps have more of a sense of investment. Okay? Making sacrifices So doing things instead of being paid, alright, instead of charging a price, having that as a sacrifice that may pay off in some other way that isn't the receiving of currency. Okay, so that's a definite possibility that can happen. Now, a good example I would put forward that's nice and simple, that sinks at this point home, is that I'm not being paid right now to share this educational information. I'm not charging anyone. There's no cost. It's, again, in the same way of somebody building a house for someone else. Exactly the same. It costs me materials, effort, time, energy, but there's no price tag. Okay? Why? How? How am I able to do this? Because I have passion or a will to want to. Okay? And I'm a friendly person. So that helps. I'm a generous, friendly person. But I have a passion, okay? Whatever is the combination of traits that make this up, contribute to this, I have a passion that allows me to provide something for free. So if there was some form of passion or solidarity, then there would be the possibility for a collective providing. So my answer to how would it be possible on a collective scale? How would you have people friendly enough with each other that you could just have homes built for free? Because people just knew and understood, well, my people in my community, my folk, are better off having a roof over their head and a nice comfy home, because that's supporting my collective well-being as a community. So the better off they are, the better off I am. The better off they are, the better off they can, the more they can support themselves. That means the more they can as well be friendly and generous in return and help me with free things. So, gestures, compassionate, behavior, compassionate intentions, to look after each other. That's what's needed. But how would you get that? So that's the real question. How would you get to a point, or how would you have a population of people who were compassionate and friendly enough with each other that they wanted to actually help build each other up? Okay. And they felt that it was worth it. Okay. Because at the end of the day, we're all programmed with self-interest. Everything we do is for our own gain, ultimately. That means, the only way we can have that is if that collective, that folk that people are working towards with, are of the same identity as the individual who is working as a member of that collective. Okay? So there is that self-interest. Alright, so the identity of the individual has to be aligned, has to be homogeneous with the identity of the collective in order for a folk to collectively be passionate and compassionate towards each other in a way that they want to help each other and build each other up, because they, even if they don't consciously understand, they would subconsciously, biologically, instinctually understand that building up these other individuals who share their same identity would also help build up and protect and sustain, nourish their own identity as an individual. So, because of the nature of human beings, we are self-interest driven individuals. So we everything we do is for ourselves, ultimately. The only way we can actually have a collective where we work together and actually again, lift each other up and help each other out, is if we are those others that we are helping out and we are with, our group, our collective, directly, are of the same identity as ourselves. And this is not to say that we can't also help out others and be compassionate towards others who aren't of our own identity. But we still can, but we can't to the same degree. And the reason is because we're just not built to be able to. So that doesn't mean we should have hostility towards folk of other identities. It just means that we should try to focus more on our own group, our own people that share our identity, and bolster that, because bolstering that collective identity is bolstering ourselves. So we can give everything to that. Whereas someone else with some other identity that isn't compatible with our own, we can't give everything to that. We can still give and help and be compassionate, but it can't be our number one focus, simply because biologically, the way we're built as organisms in this existence, we cannot give our 100% to that. We can only give our 100% again to a collective which shares and reflects our own biospirit, our own identity. So, if you had that, a collective, a group of individuals, a nation, whatever it was, a tribe, etc., and they had a shared identity, it was not just abstract or conceptual, but a deep biological connection, a biological identity, a shared biospirit, then they could live in a manner in which they actually have everything I explained before, free homes, free everything. And then they could perhaps work together as a collective to help give that to other groups with other identities. But that's the only way it could possibly happen. Which means, in order to eventually get to a stage where we can have free housing, free raising of children, like things like this, a lot more freedom in general, we have to promote the end of racial discrimination, so the end of things like anti-whiteism, and the promotion of the well-being of all folk, no matter their background. Take it easy.